manifesto. Let's take a look, shall we? The USS Dodge Challenger. Head out to port. The Dodge Challenger 392 Hemi Scat Pack Shaker. She's a beauty.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we have another special car, and kind of fitting with the pony cars, we did the Camaro. Now we have a Challenger. This is a 2016 Dodge Challenger Super B, and the name is much longer than that. That's really all you need to know. So let's get started. If you don't know what this is, you've clearly been living under a rock. This is one of the most iconic American cars, mainly because it's been around for so long. So let's start off with kind of what this car is. Dodge obviously made the Challenger, the original Challenger, back in the late 60s, early 70s, I think. And then we only went on for a few years, but they brought it back when everybody was bringing back their cars. Chevy brought back the Camaro, Ford did a retro design with the Mustang, and Dodge decided to bring back their Challenger as a competitor. But I think this is one of the best names redone by a manufacturer. For one, Dodge did exactly what they did in the 60s with this car. It's literally the same ethos. It's a large vehicle with an even larger engine that makes lots of power, and that's about it. That's what they focused on. Whereas the Camaro and the Mustang went more sports car, small, nimble, kind of, more European handling cars. This didn't. It said, I'm an American car, I will have large pushrod V8, I will go fast in a straight line. And that's what they did. You can tell that because if you look at a Camaro or a Mustang, they're, almost normal sized cars. This isn't. This is a very large car. Compared to the two, it weighs a lot more, but it also makes a lot of power. This trim is the Super B. So that gives you the 6.4 liter Hemi, which is the larger option over the 5.7 liter Hemi, and almost 500 horsepower, 485 horsepower and 475 foot-pounds of torque. So not only in the performance design building ethos, they also kept the style pretty spot on. First off, you start off with the 4 headlights in the front, which have been updated to be LED. That's another thing this car's been around forever. And it pretty much looks the same, which is a testament to how well they designed it. But they did update it with the LED headlights, which light up orange and look really cool when you're driving behind someone. This is also the Shaker edition, which gives you a Shaker hood, which, most manufacturers would just make that part of the hood. This is actually attached to the engine, like the original Shaker in the 60s, and it does indeed shake when the engine runs. So props to Dodge for actually cutting a hole in their hood and charging you more for it. Down the side of the car, you get the iconic Super B emblem, which is pretty cool. And of course, the Super B, that's another nod back to the original. You could get a Super B, because those used to be on the B body, and when they gave it a big engine, it was in a Super B, so there's a B on it. So down the side of the car, you get the iconic lift over here, which again, is just like the original Challenger. This is pretty much spot on to that design, which is really cool. And again, props to Dodge for actually doing that. You get a pretty cool fin on the back here that also says Scat Pack with the B on it, and the iconic Super B stripe. This stripe, you could not get it from factory, which who on earth would get a Super B Challenger without a Super B stripe? So the owner, my sister by the way, who may be featured later, decided to re-put on the Super B stripe. So this is a Super B stripe deleted Challenger with a Super B stripe added back on. You can see, again, taillights have been updated. Earlier Challengers just had solid non-LED lights, which is how old this car is. It's been around a long time, but this has been updated then to have these cool hoop rear taillights. And you get the dual exhaust, and you get Norwegian Princess on a Challenger. This is my sister. So let's talk about the main selling point for this car. Why do you get a Challenger? For the engine. As you can see, there's not really much to see because the Shaker scoop is still here, but it is a gigantic engine. In all of our cars that we own, and you've seen pretty much all of them, this is the largest engine, 6.4 liter, and the most power at 485 horsepower. Now, before we go up front and look at all the stuff this car has, I want to go in back, because one benefit of the size of this car, unlike the Camaro, is that these back seats are actually usable. Let's take a look. Still not great to get into, but once you're back here, honestly, you actually have a good amount of space. I even have headroom. If you remember in the Camaro, I was kind of like this. You even get cup holders back here. You have three seats here, so you could fit 5 people in your Challenger, although the middle passenger might not be very happy. You also get climate vents back here. It's all very fancy. And again, cup holders. Moving on to the interior of the Challenger. First thing I want to direct you to is the seats, because they're freaking awesome. They have the Super Blee logo on them. Dodge did a lot of fun stuff. Now, up front, you get quite a scale of size on this car. For one, the dashboard is huge. You get this huge piece of just plastic that's massive and goes around the whole dashboard. It's gigantic. There's also a few things you can start to tell that this car was designed in the early 2000s and has been updated till now. And the only way they updated it was giving it bigger engines. One of the cup holders here are directly behind your shifter. This is a manual, by the way, I should point out, pretty cool. But if you have any, you go to McDonald's and you get your giant cup, So before we talk about any more features in this, we have to start the car, obviously. And that's quite an ordeal. So let's take a look. So the first thing you can tell is this car is very loud. For one, Challenger's already loud from factory, I'm sure, with this engine. But this has also had the mufflers cut off it, which I'm sure every Challenger ever has had. That seems to be a thing. And it is extremely loud. But it's fitting for this car. Before we go driving, and we'll go shortly, let's just look at this interior. For one, the gauges are very cool. You have your center screen, but you have your typical analog gauges around them. And they're very fitting of, again, a Heritage Challenger, where the numbers don't stay straight up, they kind of go around. So when you look at 180, it's actually upside down. You also get various numbers of center screens. You can go and look through all your data, just like pretty much every other car. In the center screen, you have your normal stuff. If you've owned a Dart, like I have, the system's a little familiar. You don't get Apple CarPlay, unfortunately, but you do get all your heated seats and cooled seats. That is nice. This car has cooled seats. However, the buttons are in the screen. They're not here where they should be. It all works like it does. You don't buy a Challenger for the infotainment system. You buy it for that engine, which we shall go drive right now. The car is very loud. It's also very fast. Driving this car, like I said, when you sit in it, you just get such a scale of how big this car is. You have not only the windshield is really far away from me, like if I want to, I can't reach the mirror. I have to lean forward to adjust it. And then on top of that, you have the giant shaker scoop. And then the further's the front of the car. Like, it's huge. You also have nice heavy steering in this car. I'm in sport mode right now because this is a sports car. And this is much heavier than the Camaro's steering is already. And of course, you have that engine, which is very loud at any RPM. When you're driving this, as I think Dodge intended, this is a muscle car. This is exactly what it feels like to drive a muscle car. Well, for one, these seats are quite large and very comfortable. But if you look at the size of them, these are basically just living room sofas I'm sitting in, which is, again, befitting of this car. So this car has strange gear ratios, to me at least. If you've driven a Challenger, you probably know. 1 to 2 is extremely short in this. It's like just, not the throw, but the gear ratio change. It's like 1, and then 2 is just a little bit less. And then 6 gear is very long. So I'm doing 60 right now, and I'm at a little over 1,000 RPM. It's barely moving, which is nice for fuel economy if you're just driving on the highway, I'm sure. And fuel economy is great in this car. Gracie, what have you been averaging while you've been driving this car?
Averaging about 15 miles per gallon, which is actually really good, because when I first got the car, it was around 12.
This is Gracie's weekend car for everybody. You probably remember her from her Sonic video, which is still her daily, and she decided to spend her money on this gigantic car. But my youngest sister has our largest and most powerful engine of all of us, which is pretty hilarious.
This has been my dream car for many, many, many years. Probably since I started going to car shows, I enjoyed the Bee.
The Super Bee. So Gracie, why did you want this car? Why did you spend your money all on this one?
Well, first off, I was thinking about getting Yeah, so I was like, oh, I like cats. This was when I was like 15. So of course I'm like, oh yeah, it has a cat on it. How cute! It's a Hellcat. I was like, yeah, I want that car. But then I was like, that's really fast. Even this one's like really, really fast.
Yeah, that makes 200 horsepower more.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't need all that. I would get in so much trouble. I was introduced to the Super Bee. We go to the Philly car show. You got to sit in one.
You gotta fight the kids to sit.
Yeah, I'd have to fight with the kids. There was this really nice man at the local car show we go to that let me sit in his Super Bee, which was awesome. It was automatic, but it was still.
It was
automatic. I have the correct transmission. Like, I really like the Super. I love the stripe.
The stripe's cool.
The local mechanic had some connections and got someone to put the decal on for me.
Oh, it did the 1 to 4 shift.
Yes, sometimes it does the 1 to 4. It
shift.
just has a mind of its own. I don't really. Comment below if you know the math of it. It's also really nice that the local mechanic is a Dodge expert and that he can work on this car. He knows the ins and outs of it. He knows everything about it. And it's fast, which is awesome. And it's loud, which is awesome. And it's the right kind of loud.
This is not a buzz loud.
No,
this is a
not a
giant engine. Is very loud.
Yes.
Again, back to this engine. This is 6.4 liters. So the C7 Corvette I've reviewed before is 6.2 liters. This is even larger than that. And 475 foot-pounds of torque. From this engine, it's a big old pushrod V8. And what you get from that is a lot of torque. In my Camaro, for example, just a little V6, you have to rev that out. Power comes in strong at like 4,000 or 5,000 RPM. This, at 2,000 RPM, you get a ton of torque and it just pulls like crazy because it's big and it moves lots of air and lots of gas. It's crazy with the Challenger. You have so many trims, from like a base V6 Pentastar rental car up to a over 1,000 horsepower Dodge Demon drag strip car, basically. This is somewhere in the middle, and I honestly think this is about the sweet spot. 500 horsepower, more than that. For 700 horsepower in the Hellcat, yeah, it'd be fun, that'd be awesome, but you'd just be doing a burnout the whole time.
Speaking of which, when I first got the car,
oh yeah,
let's even go farther than that. I bought this car off of a online sort of car thing called Vroom, sort of similar to Carvana. It was originally owned in Arizona, which I'm told is a great place to get a car because
no rust.
Yes, no rust. It's very dry in Arizona. Great. And so I had it shipped. I was so excited to get the car that they didn't even deliver it to my house. I went and drove to the New Jersey warehouse that they had it at, and I picked it up there because it was another day for them to ship it to my house. I'm like, nah, I'll just go and pick it up now. So it's dark out by the time I get there. I go and pick it up, I sign the rest of the paperwork, set. I launch it out of there, I turn, and I see my life flash before my eyes because the back wheels, they were on like racer summer tires, no grip at all, just total spin out almost. I'm like gripping onto the steering wheel for dear life, and that was like the perfect first memory driving this car.
Yeah, that's this car for you.
I've got new tires recommended by the local mechanic that have a little bit more grip on them.
All right, I'm very scared, but let's see how this car goes around corners. Oh my goodness. The power is crazy. Oh, hey, not bad actually. Not bad. I'd have to get used to it, as you do with any car. But honestly, this is why you buy it. So the main takeaway from that is this car is fast. Now, it handles pretty good, but when you give it gas in like third gear in the power band, holy crap.
So some other features on this car, it does have a very large sunroof. We also have, for the first time, I own a car that has the sunglasses holder, which is pretty useless for me because...
Your Sonic doesn't have glasses?
No?
Oh, yeah, fun fact, this car has 4 pedals. You have your gas, your brake, your clutch, and then your parking brake, which is another nod to how long this car's been around. You push your other brake in, and that's your parking brake, and then you have a release for it here, and it like ka-chunks out, and you can hear it from outside the car. It's very loud. In the screen, it's pretty cool actually. If you go to apps, it's like a phone. You can drag and drop them so they're always at the bottom. Like I said, a little bit annoying. I have to go in here, and then I have to hit a heated seat. Hot and cool, but it's fine. If you get the performance pages in here as well, which is pretty cool, you get a Super Track Pack, which I don't know quite what that does. I'm sure you could take this car on the racetrack if you wanted to, and that would be fun. So that's pretty much the Dodge Challenger for you. Very loud, very big, very fast, a little scary around turns. But wasn't the original Challenger just like that? Dodge did pretty much a spot-on job of really making the car as it is today. Pretty cool. This was the last muscle car along with the Charger, but unfortunately, as of this year, they are no longer selling the Challenger. It is dead with the Camaro. RIP. But that's okay because we have this one and it's a ton of fun. So thank you for watching. Thank you for Gracie for letting me drive her car, and we will see you all in the next video.
Bye.
Corvette. How did this get in here?